All right, we're back with part 2 of the Home Assistant security alarm, and we're going to be getting started with Node Red here in just a minute. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm going to start a flow, and I'm just going to call it security. So hopefully you've watched my other videos of how to set up Home Assistant, add to Zigbee to MQTT, and how to install Node Red. We will be building off of that, and as such, I'll be clicking deploy a lot. Just to recap, we're going to grab a comment section here, and we're going to check alarm status. And we'll grab a event state node. So this is a event state node. It's going to check to see, it's going to observe what is happening upon the change of our entity. So we'll call this intrusion alarm. The entity is going to be the intrusion alarm panel. To find out what it's going to output, just let's pretend we don't know. We're going to connect our two nodes here to a debug node and click deploy. And then if we were to come back to our overview page and arm the system, we can see it is outputting a string of 10 characters, armed home. And if we were to disarm the system, it was going to put out disarmed. So those are kind of what we're going to be using to set our alarm, and that's going to be what all of our automations are kind of built around, is the status of this control panel. So let's think about triggering the alarm. So what's going to happen what needs to happen when the alarm is triggered? We're going to have the alarm set to away or home, and then we're going to have something happen. A door is opened, a window is opened, motion is detected, or a camera sees a person. For our example, we'll be doing a door opens, and you might be thinking, let's use a event state, and you could use multiple event states and some logic nodes to filter your way through it. I'm going to just kind of cheat a little bit and step ahead with a trigger state node. This requires multiple conditions to be met to meet your output. So alarm tripped. And our entity here, you can just pick one. I'm going to probably do the alarm panel. Intrusion alarm panel, current state is armed home. And then I'm going to add a condition of the door sensor contact is on. So the alarm is tripped if our system is armed and the door opens. And I'm going to just put this out into debug, deploy, and using my door sensor, I'm going to separate them. So separating this isn't working, of course. So I'm going to grab a event state node for door sensor. Grab our entity for the door sensor contact, and then I'm going to put this into our debug node and deploy. I want to see why isn't it tripping. So it's off. I separate them. It's on. I would have expected the alarm trip to put something out. Okay, we'll just plug right along here then. So what's going to happen when the alarm is tripped? We're going to change the state of our control panel. So we're going to call a service, if true, trigger alarm panel. The domain is the alarm control panel. The service will be trigger alarm, and the entity, so you know which panel in case you have two, is the intrusion alarm. So I'm going to deploy this. Let it reload, everything is running, and I'm going to separate my sensor. So I'm going to come back here and change my entity from the intrusion alarm panel to door sensor contact. And just set it up this way. I don't know why that's triggering me. So once it's been deployed, we'll check that we're disarmed, and then we'll arm it, and then I'll separate. And that triggers the alarm, so we're pending, and after 45 seconds, this will trigger the alarm. We'll disarm it for now. So once the alarm's been triggered, let's have a hypothetical situation here. So your alarm goes off, you're walking in the door, and it was an accident. False alarm, you need to disable it quickly. I like to get a notification for that, so I'll grab a change node. And this is setting the payload of the message, but we're gonna change it to message.message. and we're going to add one for message.title. So the title will be intrusion alarm triggered. The message will be if you need to trip the alarm. So we've got these two rules, and we're going to just say set message as the title. And then we're going to grab a call service and connect these nodes. And this will be notify iPhone. The domain will be notify. The service will be my iPhone. And then we're going to switch this data to JSON. And I'm going to cheat by pasting this in from my other automations. And this has a message, which we grabbed the message that we set previously, and the title. We're going to have the data of the notification being a push notification with critical volume and sound. The actions inside the notifications, there'll be two buttons, is turn off security alarm and acknowledge security alarm. One calls the police, one disarms the system. So we'll save that. You get this notification on your phone. What if your hands are wet? What if you accidentally swiped it away too fast and you're not going to be able to get to Home Assistant fast enough? We can fix that with a little delay node. And we'll set this to 15 seconds. The idea is every 15 seconds to repeat. So we want this message to repeat every 15 seconds unless an action is taken. We don't want this to go on forever. So we're going to check on the current state. Check if disarmed. We're going to check our alarm control panel, and we want to know if the state is disarmed. So if the alarm is disarmed, we want to do nothing, but if it's not disarmed, we want to check to see if it's been triggered. So we'll connect this node of the negative, not the positive, if false, check if triggered. Alarm control panel for the intrusion alarm is triggered. If it is triggered, do nothing, but if it's not triggered, so if no action's been taken, we want to set that message again and notify our iPhone again. So the alarm is disarmed, but if it's armed and we open the door, the panel will be triggered. We'll see the message, or we'll set the message to send to the iPhone, and we'll delay for 15 seconds. After 15 seconds, if it has not been disarmed and if it's still triggered, send another message. So I'm going to save this, but we're not done, because if I ran this right now and I tapped on the button of disarm the system, nothing would happen because we don't have anything listening to hear these app responses. So I've deployed the saves, and we're not going to run this quite yet because despite having this notification come to our iPhone, these options, these two notification messages in our JSON, even if they pop up on my phone and I tap them, we're not currently listening for their response. So what we're going to use for that is an events all node. The events all node is just listening for everything. All mobile app notification actions. And so what we're going to be listening for as the event type is mobile app notification action. And we're going to have a topic, and we want an event type with the same contents in this expression. So this is listening for the response from your iPhone, and based on that response, we want to do one of two things. And this is where the switch node comes in. So we are going to listen for payload.event.action, and we're listening for turn off security alarm and acknowledge. And these are in all caps because I used all caps previously. These must be exactly what is notified in this JSON here as the action. So if our response action that we tap on comes into Home Assistant and hits this switch, it is either equal to turn off security alarm or it is equal to acknowledge. And it's 1 and 2 as our options, which is the high and the low here. You can mouse over it and see that. So if we want to turn off the security alarm system, we're going to call a service, connect the two, and we'll call this disarm alarm. The domain is the alarm control panel again, and we want to alarm disable. Which alarm panel do we want to disable? The intrusion alarm. We'll click done there. And we want to make sure it's disarmed. We don't just want to kind of assume it is. So I'm going to add a current state. Check if disarmed. Check if what is disarmed? The alarm intrusion control panel is disarmed. So if it is not disarmed, we want to keep checking until it is, in case there's any kind of delay or lag. So I'm going to put a delay node in here. So if it is not disarmed, I want to delay for 5 seconds, and then I want to check again. If it is disarmed, I want to send a message to my phone letting me know that it worked. So I'll grab a change node here, notify or set message, and we'll set our message to the value of security alarm is disabled, and we'll set the title to security alarm is disabled. And then we still need to send that to our phone, so we'll grab our notify iPhone again, paste it down here. One last thing to change is this notify iPhone JSON data. We have a smaller version from the node that we copied where it's just the message and title and the alarm. We don't have our action buttons. So this flow here, doors open and the alarm panel is armed. We're going to set the alarm panel to triggered. It immediately goes into pending. We're going to set a message and send it to our iPhone and wait 15 seconds. If we don't disarm it and we don't trigger it within 15 seconds, send in a thing to my phone again. We'll get 3 of these before the police get called. In our notification response section, we are listening from all responses from iPhone, and depending on the output, if it is turn off security alarm, we're going to disarm the alarm. We're going to check if it's been disarmed and check every 5 seconds until it has been. And once it's been disarmed, send a message to your phone saying all good, police aren't getting called. What about the flip side? What if you do want to trigger the alarm that the police are here? So what we'll do here is a call service, and we'll call this trigger alarm. Domain alarm control panel, service is trigger, entity is alarm control panel. So this is very similar to it just being tripped. It just kind of solidifies that it is tripped, and the police will be called shortly. There is a way to speed this up. Once we have Noonlight set up, we would just have this immediately trigger the Noonlight alarm instead of the control panel alarm. This is more for illustrative purposes. And so we don't forget that. Put a little comment right here. Update to Noonlight alarm later. So we have deployed our changes, and we have the basics of a alarm system here. So to test this, we will arm our security alarm system, and then I will simulate opening a door. We can watch the flow pretty immediately go through. Immediately got that noise on my phone letting me know. I accidentally just swiped away the notification, which is why we have another one coming. It's at the bottom there. And then so I will open this up, and I have my options to turn off the alarm, and immediately it set the control panel to disarmed. So now that we have the basics of a working alarm, we need to make it smart. The first one that I would recommend that you do is presence detection. This is based on your phone. If you have the Home Assistant app on your phone with location services enabled, there will be a person entity that you can call on. So let's make that flow. So we will take the event state, and we'll call this Charles is home. We'll take this person entity, Chuck is home, and just click done with that. And so this is a bit of a two-pronged one here. If I'm not home, we're going to get an output. So what we're going to use that output for is checking if the alarm is armed. So if Charles is not home and the alarm is not armed, then we want to call service of arm alarm away. So domain is the alarm control panel, service will be arm away, entity is alarm control panel intrusion alarm, and that's a pretty simple flow through of, is it armed? No. Is Charles home? No. Okay, we'll set the alarm. Inverse of that is Charles is home, so we want to turn off the alarm. If you leave, it arms. When you come home, it disarms. The radius of you coming home is based in Home Assistant. To set up the location for your person, you need to have the app installed, and you need to come down to People and ensure that your device that you're tracking is the one that's with you. So for me, it's my iPhone. And then we'll also go to Areas and Zones, and then choose your radius around your house for what is considered home and what's considered away. So you can build this out some more if you want certain things to happen when you come home, like a certain light turning on or a certain thing happening. You want your Alexa or Google to say, welcome back after 30 seconds or something. You can mess with all that. And this is a good way to kind of set that up. Trigger your home location with disarming the alarm, and then when motion is detected at the front door, if you have a sensor there, say something. I also have one that is set when I am in bed and my phone is on the charger. If it's after 9 p.m., the bed is occupied and my phone is currently charging, set the alarm, and then when all three of those or any one of those are interrupted in the middle of the night or after, I think I have it set for after 5 a.m., if my phone leaves the charger, if I leave the bed, disarm the system. And that way I never have to think about it. Let's think about what's going to happen when the alarm is triggered. So this is not pending, this is actually triggered. And so we will get the event state of our alarm panel is triggered, and this will be the one that's for 10 seconds, I believe. What do we want to happen? I think one that we definitely want to make sure happens is that we're calling Noonlight. I don't have that currently installed, but that's an integration that you'd call a service on. You might want a text-to-speech of your Google devices or Amazon saying, hey, police have been called, get out. You might also want to turn on lights. So some of my automations that I have set would be when alarm is triggered to call Noonlight, text-to-speech, police have been called, turn off adaptive lighting, so no sleep mode, no dim lights, turn on all lights, turn on my light switches, delay 1 second, turn them off, and it just strobes. 1 second on, 1 second off, everything strobes. It's not really a strobe, it's pretty slow, but that way you know something's up. It's visual. If the police are coming, they know which house is yours. I had an issue with that when I had my intrusion. I don't have a siren. I would recommend getting a siren. I need to probably get on that sooner than later. So I have a very similar set of automations for my fire and smoke, where it calls out and notifies my phone. But if the smoke alarm is tripped, I want all my doors to be unlocked. I want my garage door to open. I want my front gate to be open. I want everything to immediately allow me to leave and allow firefighters to get in. So we've used pretty much all the entities that I have in my Chuck Builds Home Assistant. I can't really show you a much more advanced system, so I'm going to go over to my Noonlight flows that are in my personal Home Assistant Node-RED. I have a completely separate alarm system for fire and smoke, and this one is armed 24 hours a day, all the time. It does not turn on and off when I get home. It is always on, whereas my personal alarm, we can see here, arms in the night, it arms when I leave for a little bit during the day, and it's pretty seamless with how often I'm home. I also don't use the armed away all that often. Just because I have a dog, it does detect the motion. I have my armed home as just doors and windows. I have my armed away as motion as well. I'll set that if I'm on vacation and I know that my dog's not home and no one is home. It's led to 1 or 2 false alarms, but nothing too crazy that you can't check quickly with your security cameras, and making sure that your doors are all still closed. I would strongly suggest, however, if you do this security route system, that you make a new tab in your home page where you have your security alarm listed, but you also have all of your sensors. When you get woken up in the middle of the night and you're not sure why the alarm is going off, you don't really have your wits about you, you want to quickly check that. So I'm going to cut it here for the end of the second video. This will be a multi-part series on Chuck Builds and the home security alarm system. I hope 20 minutes wasn't too long. This was a real slog to record and edit. I know that there was a lot and I probably should have done it in a more condensed manner, but I wanted to be more conversational and show you the things I think about and how I would go about setting that up. I might go back if there's demand and make a very short version if you think that would be interesting. And then if you've made it this far, your reward is these flows will be on my website, www.chuck-builds.com, so that you can import them into your Node-RED. But I would suggest that you build it yourself to get some practice with pretty simple flows and figuring out how it works. If you need any help, reach out to me on social media or join the Chuck Builds Discord that's linked on my YouTube channel. Again, this has been so long, I'm sorry. I'll try to keep it shorter in the future, and then we should have a few more videos of this series coming up next. I'm thinking I'm going to tackle how to set up Noonlight. I'll talk about connected I/O, and then I think I'll also try to do a ring to MQTT setup at my parents' house. So subscribe, follow along, and let me know what you thought. Thanks.